a part of the Trump base that there is unquestionably racism, but 40 million people voted for him. I'm not convinced that many Americans are racist. I know people who voted for him who I know are not, but I think they've been lied to.
But the lying is continuous and unabating. Now he's got this osteopath saying that he's in perfect health.
Yes.
The guy is a rambling, sweating clown.
Yeah.
He's forced into a girdle and golf pants.
Yes.
And they're saying that is the pinnacle of health. What does illness look like? What I want to know.
But if he gets reelected, he will destroy.
Well, listen, if he gets reelected, we deserve what we get.
Yeah. I'm not voting for him. Don't put me in there.
If we put him back in, if he gets back in, we deserve what we got, because it meant that we were not loud enough or strong enough, or that a constitution wasn't strong enough to keep this bozo out.
I know. Well, you have things working against the good. Yeah. And the whole world is getting a little weird. I mean, they just put a fascist in Argentina.
Yeah.
Of course, Argentina, don't cry for me, Argentina has never been the pinnacle of democracy. But you have it in Hungary, you have it now in Argentina, you have it in different places.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about old sleepy Joe Biden, a.k.a. Sack Chinny and Joe, who nowadays it seems like it is becoming less and less and less likely that he will win in 2024 if he is the Democrat Party's nominee, which I'm not convinced that he will be. I actually don't think that he will be. I think that they're going to replace him with maybe Gavin Newsom, maybe Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer. They're going to replace him with somebody, right? I mean, there's no way they can walk into 2024 with a corpse as the leader of the party. It's just not going to happen. You already see the mainstream liberal media, people like The View, the cackling hens, melting down and crying over the fact that Trump's doctor came out and said that he's in perfect health, okay? Unlike Biden, who clearly is not in perfect health, especially mentally and physically as well, too. And it is very apparent to anybody paying attention, okay? This is why you have all these celebrities, left-wing celebrities, coming out here and abandoning Joe Biden, because they can clearly and obviously see that the guy is too old, okay? And the White House clearly and obviously also knows that Joe Biden is too old, and this is why they've been kind of hush-hush and not really made a big deal about Joe Biden in his 81st birthday. I mean, have you guys seen the cake that Joe Biden had for his birthday that they posted on social media? It looks like a representation of what is happening to this country. And it also doesn't help that Joe Biden, again, on his 81st birthday, got Beyonce, Britney Spears, and Taylor Swift all mixed up doing his address on the White House lawn during the presidential pardoning ceremony for the Thanksgiving turkeys. Take a look.
1,000 miles. You could say even this harder than getting a ticket to the Renaissance tour or Britney's tour. She's down in, it's kind of warm in Brazil right now. Look.
Yeah, so it's moments like this that are clearly holding Joe Biden down in the polls. It's not just the fact that he's super old. It's the fact that he's clearly and obviously having cognitive difficulties in regards to just being able to remember basic things. Again, Trump is not necessarily having this problem like Joe Biden is having this problem. And I really do believe that this is part of the reason why Joe Biden is falling behind in the polls, along with the state of the country and the economy.
Show Trump leading nationally. Let's take a closer look.
I mean, you know what? They're too big to ignore. And the margin, obviously, was in the margin of error. Nothing's insurmountable a year out.
Yeah, so if the election were held today, it's showing that Joe Biden would only get 44%, but Donald Trump is still at 46%, right. Brian. This is a drop from that 51%, and that's NBC.
And NBC, he's never been leading in the NBC poll. And we'll break it down. You'll see the battleground states. Among voters 18 to 34, usually bad news for a Republican nominee, even if it's younger than Donald Trump. Not bad news right now, and that has a lot to do with this Israeli-Hamas war. The president's on the right side of this, but a third of his party is for the Palestinian-Hamas cause, which is more than a little scary. Remember what happened at the DNC headquarters a couple of days ago? They hurt 6 cops raiding the DNC headquarters full of Democrats, and these are left-wing Democrats attacking Democrats, hurting police officers.
So, Brian, as you said, it's the war, but it's also being let down when it comes to the student loans. He said he was going to forgive them. He went through the process. It was illegal. The Supreme Court said you can't do that. Voters are holding him accountable.
And by the way, the student loan thing is a big farce because you alienate a ton of people who got into the trades or paid off their loans or went a different direction. Why are you paying off other people's loans in just one age bracket? This is the key. Independence. It's the only portion of the electorate that keeps growing. Independence. And look at this.
Only 30%.
Disapproval, 63%. All right.
These are the people that got him elected, by the way, and he's lost them. Let's go to the New York Times. Now, in Nevada, swing state up by 10 points. Donald Trump is. Michigan up by 5.
Can I just stop here a second? This is going to be key because abortion is going to be on the ballot in Nevada. That could be the balancing point. But the fact that Trump is up by 10 there is significant. It shows he has a little bit of room.
Well, and to your point, Brian, Donald Trump has a little bit of a different message than the other candidates has been running on abortion. He's saying, look, you got to be realistic here. You got to get voters there. Passing national bans just isn't going to work.
Jim Crow 2.0, right? The people of Georgia know better. Stacey Abrams is not the governor. Kemp trounced her. And Trump's now leading by 6, despite being sued by the district attorney there, because evidently he wasn't happy with that turnout. I heard he had a problem with the last election. We're going to follow up on that story.
Real quickly, Brian, the issue that got Donald Trump elected the first time, he's leading on that issue by 12 points. And then on the national stage, with everything that's going on, 12 points there as well.
Right. And you see what he said, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He's all in for Israel. He's starting to pull back on that a little bit. But the fact that he's all in for Israel, alienating other people, national security, Trump is trouncing big time. On immigration, I thought it was be even more.
Yeah. So you see, now you heard that. OK, Joe Biden getting crushed across the board by Trump. OK, it's really bad. And also what's really bad is the fact that not only is Joe Biden losing young voters, apparently he's also losing his advantage when it comes to so-called minorities, as you do have black voters that are coming out and also rejecting the Biden administration and the job that they have done.
The pike that are going to affect the brown and black community, just like the illegals that are being pushed into these communities, sucking up the resources from the longtime residents that live there. All right, taxpayers. Poor taxpayers are now going to have to foot the bill for these people, and we can't even afford to pay our own rent. All right. Now we have tax coming down to programs and different things that are going to be cut directly from our community to pay for illegals. All right. There's a problem with that. There's a huge problem with it. And, you know, minorities may be silent as far as being vocal, but I believe that, you know, in 24, this new election, the next cycle, we're going to see a overwhelmingly amount of people that we have not seen in 30 years come out to vote. All right, people are being educated on the voter registration piece, how to change their party affiliation, question number 14 on their voter registration form, and people are walking away from the plantation of the Democratic Party once and for all.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, what is the mainstream liberal media response, specifically MSNBC, MSDNC's response to all of the doom and gloom for Joe Biden? Well, the response is to have a nuclear meltdown over Trump, okay, as Joe Scarborough is going to basically say that Trump is going to have people executed and imprisoned if he becomes president again. And he also copes with the fact that his colleagues are also saying that, you know, it ain't looking good for Joe Biden. I don't think that Joe Biden can win in 2024. Again, it is nuclear meltdown and Cope Central at MSNBC over this. Take a look.
He is running to end American democracy as we know it. He's an authoritarian who a court in Colorado 2 days ago ruled that he led an insurrection against the United States government. He's charged with leading schemes to help overthrow the United States government. So if they want to frame it that way, that's fine. If you want to be fair, then you will frame this as Joe Biden being the candidate that supports American democracy, and Donald Trump, a candidate who supports a new form of government here that's authoritarian. It's really that simple. And by the way, Reverend Al, when people go, oh, you can't compare him to past Nazi leaders, you can't compare him to this past Nazi leader or that past fascist leader, because he hasn't done it yet, doesn't mean he won't do it when he gets a chance to do it. And if he is voted into office, then a lot of these people that are talking about literal or figurative or whatever the hell they're saying, you're going to look like idiots. Because he will get away with, he will imprison, he will execute whoever he's allowed to imprison, execute, drive from the country. Just look at his past. It's not really hard to read. The only thing that stood between him and the destruction of American democracy was the federal judiciary.
20 minutes before the top of the hour, live look at the White House. Political strategist David Axelrod continues to raise alarms about recent polls that show President Joe Biden losing to Donald Trump next November.
Well, and by continues, we mean since 2019.
Speaking with columnist Maureen Dowd, Axelrod warned the Biden campaign against discounting the numbers, saying, quote, I hope they don't think the polls are wrong, because they're not. He continued, I think Biden has a 50-50 shot here, but no better than that. Maybe a little worse. He thinks he can cheat nature here, and it's really risky. They've got a real problem if they are counting on Trump to win it for them. I remember Hillary doing that, too. Yeah, I remember Hillary doing that. I don't think Joe Biden's doing that. But Axelrod should know, as well as anyone, because polls can be wrong. Take the 2012 election, for example, where 1 year before President Obama's reelection victory, a Quinnipiac University survey showed him losing by 4 points to Republican Mitt Romney.
Well, and I mean, Gallup had Romney winning up until election night.
Yeah, so what I find to be hilarious about Joe Scarborough's nuclear meltdown is that this is the party of Hillary Clinton screaming about Donald Trump possibly executing people, right? Again, it's just ridiculous. I don't think that Trump has ever executed anybody or even thought about executing anybody, but this is what he's claiming, right? I mean, it's just madness. It really is. And this is what these people do, okay? The worse that the polls get for Joe Biden, they're just making shit up, right? That's what they're doing as one. They're getting more and more and more unhinged with their rhetoric, right? They're claiming that Trump is Hitler. They're openly saying Trump is Hitler, right? When you have Joe Biden in the White House, right? The real fascist that is unfortunately currently running the country, trying to jail and lock up his political opponents. It's almost as if they're projecting everything that Joe Biden does onto Trump, right? Everything they see their dear leader Joe Biden do, they say, well, Trump's going to do that, right? And then they want to boo-hoo on and cry about it when Biden's literally doing it right in front of your face. And they have nothing to say about it. It's fascinating stuff. They become more and more and more unhinged as Trump continues to dominate in the polls. Now, here's the thing. The mainstream liberal media tends to believe that, you know what, hey, the polls are not accurate, okay? And because of what happened in 2022, in which there was not a red wave, it was more like a red puddle, but, you know, Republicans still won as predicted by the polls. And what happened in 2023, in which, you know, you had a lot of young women come out and vote because they want to protect their right to abortion. That means that, you know what, Biden doesn't need to worry about it, right? He doesn't need to worry about the fact that people think he's too old, that he's cognitively impaired, that the economy's bad, that they don't like the way that he's handling his foreign policy. When I think that the reality is that hopefully, just hopefully, women wake up in 2024 and realize that abortion or maintaining their right to abortion is not nearly as important of an issue as the economy and what is going on across the world.
Aliza, the Democrats, as an independent voter, you probably see this, they target different groups. It doesn't look like the targeting of minorities, young voters, is working for them. Could you see yourself giving the Democrats a shot this election?
I really am focused right now on the security of this country, and which I do think is tied directly to the security in Israel, the only democratic state in the Middle East. So for me, my issues, which are normally, abortion and rights and equality for everyone, right now I am a single issue voter. So I will vote for whoever I think is the strongest on those subjects.
Speaking of abortion, Stephanie, it looks like the Democrats are going to double down on that being the main issue. And they've gotten some great success from it in the past elections, especially the midterms. Do you think that issue alone is going to be enough for the Democrats to reelect Joe Biden?
Look, if you ask me on a personal level how I vote on abortion, I am pro-choice 100% of the time. However, to me, it's a secondary issue right now. First, we have to make sure that America is around for the next 4 years and not turned into another country that's part of the Middle East. I mean, I'm serious. This is a real threat to democracy. We're seeing it unravel in front of our own eyes, and we're not doing anything to combat it. So I can wait and talk about abortion later, but I also want to point out that for the first time, abortion rights were reduced under President Biden. That was not under a Republican leader. So I think it's totally irrelevant who our president is if we're really talking about concretely when rights are altered.
So again, I think that one issue is the issue that Democrats are relying on the most to spoil the party for Trump, which, again, I think that if you take that issue out of it, Trump's winning in a landslide. It's not even close. But the good thing is that Trump has moderated himself on the issue, okay? And hopefully the Republican Party follows suit as a whole in order to actually win. But even if they don't, I think that what's going to happen in 2024, depending on the state of the country, depending on whether or not we're still, in these wars overseas, assuming all things remain the same, I think personally that Biden is going to have a hard time. He's going to have a tough time getting young voters to vote for him. And the key to Democrats winning elections is having young, dumb people come out and vote, right? I mean, that's just the honest to God truth. This is why they always tell people, vote, 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 vote. This is why they don't want any restrictions on voting, because they want as many dumb and stupid and young people to come out and vote for them as possible. And I don't think that they're going to be as motivated to come out and to support Joe Biden and Democrats in 2024 as they otherwise would be, because I think a lot of people realize that Orange Man ain't that bad. And I think that this issue of Israel and Palestine has really shown young voters that, hey, there ain't that much of a difference between Trump and Biden when it comes to that issue specifically, okay? Because Joe Biden has not supported Palestine enough for young voters. He has been too pro-Israel. And I think what they realized that, okay, well, Biden is really not that different on that. Biden is not forgiving student loan debt. Biden is not giving out reparations. Biden's not doing any of the things that he promised that he was going to do. All the far left agenda that they promised they were going to do. Plus the economy's terrible. I might as well just vote for Trump or just not vote at all, right? I think that is the mindset of a lot of people, okay? And I think that's why you're kind of seeing the poll numbers shift for Joe Biden, especially when it comes to the young voters. I told you guys that this issue of Israel-Palestine is going to be the Achilles heel of the Democrat Party. I mean, it's the equivalent of the Republicans in abortion, right? It's the Achilles heel of the Republican Party. Israel-Palestine is the Achilles heel of the Democrat Party. And I really do think that you're going to see that show up in the ballot when people actually go and vote, because I think that they're not going to be motivated to vote, right? I think the key for Republicans to win is for Democrats and young progressives simply not to vote, simply just not showing up, because they're so disillusioned. They're so disappointed with the Biden administration. They don't even see a point in voting. Again, now, you will have some people that will, cross over and vote for Trump. But I think personally that the key is Biden voters just not being motivated to show up and vote. Now, again, the abortion issue could motivate them to show up and vote. Who knows? I think that there will be a balance. I think that it'll probably cancel itself out a little bit with the Israel-Palestine situation. Obviously, you have RFK in there as a spoiler as well. Maybe Joe Manchin enters the race. But all I'm saying is that despite some of the setbacks for the GOP in 2022 and 2023, I am still very optimistic going into 2024. I just believe that it really comes down to Republicans showing up and voting, right? Regardless of who the candidate is, showing up and voting, right? That's what it comes down to, because I really don't think that Democrats, young voters, are going to come out and vote for Joe Biden the way they did in 2020, because Trump derangement syndrome is just simply not as powerful as it used to be. Don't get me wrong. You still got some people that are severely Trump deranged, but when you look at people like Cardi B, Michael Rappaport, people who have a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome, you know, Michael Rappaport's case, this guy is straight up saying, I might vote for Trump, right? I might have to vote for Trump. That tells you a lot, okay, about how the Trump derangement card has been overplayed, right? The screaming about how Trump is a threat to democracy, that he's so dangerous, he's Hitler, right? Yada, 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 while Biden is actually really acting like a Mussolini or a Hitler. I think, again, it's a card that's been overplayed. And once you've overplayed that card, I think people become numb to it, okay? I think people are numb to hearing about the smears against Trump, along with the clear weaponization of the deep state and these political witch hunts against Trump. I think ultimately at the end of the day that going into 2024, it is looking very, very, very bad for Biden. And if there's not a drastic turnaround, aka Biden's replaced by another Democrat, it looks very, very likely that Biden will not only lose, but he's going to lose in a landslide. Trump is supposed to be down heavy right now. Okay, that's the difference between what's happening right now and what's happened in the past, is that no, Trump is supposed to be behind, right? Trump is supposed to be, losing to Biden by at least 5 or 10 points. The fact that Trump is up over Biden consistently as of right now, and there's really nothing that Trump can do to hurt himself. He's Teflon, and things can only continue to get worse for Biden. Again, I'm just saying, I don't think that things are going to change much going into 2024 unless the Democrats finally decide to replace old Joe, right? But we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.